Yes, yes. What's going on, guys? My name is Eddie Tranzcendent, and you're tuning into the Tranzcendent Outlook podcast. Specifically, this is the Latin Soundtrack podcast series. This is a podcast series where what I like to do is highlight Latinos, individuals, businesses, or organizations who are doing great things in this city of Bridgeport or in the surrounding area, right? The idea is that we want to make sure that we highlight folks who are doing great things because, you know, there's a lot of time spent on negativity, but there's so many good people, so many good things happening, and I want to be able to just be at least be one of the people who are helping to get some exposure and to highlight some of these amazing people who are doing great things. And tonight we have the great pleasure of having a conversation with Eric Torres, a gentleman who is doing great things in the community here, but admittedly somebody who I don't really know that well, right? And one of the great things I think for me about the conversation that I have is that a lot of these people, I don't even know them myself. And so we get to meet them, we get to learn about them, we get to really indulge in their greatness together. And it makes it that much more real, right? But I'm talking a lot right now. It's crazy. I'm looking down, I can see Eric in the background. He's like, what's going on, man? Let's go. So we're going to go ahead and get this party on the road. What is going on, Eric?
What's going on? What's going on? Eddie, how you doing?
I'm really good, man. Let me get this music out of here, man. And so we can hear your beautiful voice in this microphone, man. Listen, like I was saying a few minutes ago, you know, I don't really know you. I mean, we've seen each other around. We support each other, obviously. We obviously, you know, we have a lot of friends in common. Mm-hmm. And we're here for the same. We have the same mission, right? In terms of the youth, in terms of just helping folks, and in terms of just giving, right? Not giving back. I don't like to say giving back because giving back is almost like it's forced, right? We're just giving, right?
That's right.
And so today I'm super excited to get to know you. So I want to start off with just the first question, which is, how are you today, man?
Man, I'm doing good, brother. I'm doing much better that I get to be on your podcast with you, man, and just sharing in the good work that you're doing. So I'm doing good today, man. Today was a good day, regardless of whether or not it was raining outside. You know, we are still blessed, so I feel good. How about you?
No, I'm really good, man. A little too much rain for me, man. But it's a beautiful thing. I'm glad that it stopped now. But no, I'm really good. I'm really good. I'm really excited for today's conversation, man. Let me go ahead and get up in these comments. Some people are already tuning in. Yvette was on there. What's going on, Yvette? Thank you so much for your support. My wife is on here. Keo, thank you so much, baby. You already know. And all right, yeah. So we're good. So listen, I want to go ahead and get right into it, man. Who is Eric? Who are you?
Man, Bridgeport, born and raised, man. Bridgeport in my blood. You know, I'm here. Like I said, born and raised, graduated from Central High School, class of 1990 something. I ain't gonna put it on, but definitely class of 1990 something, man. And you know, I just, Eric is the person who loves giving back, is committed, dedicated to seeing his city succeed, seeing his community succeed. Man, I love what I do. I wouldn't change a thing. And so, you know, again, I'm a traveler. I'm an avid traveler. You know, I am half Puerto Rican. I know you put a question out there about whether or not you should have a Spanish podcast. Yes. I saw that. And listen, man, I might learn a couple of words or two, man. Even though I am Puerto Rican, brother, I said the last name works for me, Torres, and you know, I like adobo sazon and a little bit of fettuccine. So definitely got that Puerto Rican flow, but you know, half Puerto Rican, half French, Indian, and all that other good stuff. But
love it,
man. I'm just living the good life.
Let me tell you, man. I've been getting spanked on the back end, man. People are hitting me up. You know, what's going on? Can we get something in Spanish? You know, because a lot of the people who I'm interviewing are involved in the Latino community and it's not in Spanish, right? So I say, you know what, let me put the question out there, see what people say and give the people what they want, right? My Spanish is not amazing, but I get through. And I think that, again, the idea is just to be able to inform folks of what's happening. And if we could do it in their native language, then that is even better, you know?
No, I think it's a good look. Yeah.
I will say this. Apparently, I guess Yvette, she's a central head too. We're not gonna be doing this tonight. We're not doing the central thing. I'm a Harding head. I'm a president. We're not doing this tonight. All right, so I'm just letting you know.
We're the Hilltoppers right here. But we're not gonna start that, man. We gotta keep it good.
No. Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah. So But yeah, no, that the idea again being just being able to get this information out to everybody. Did you say so? You're born and raised in Bridgeport?
Born and raised in Bridgeport, all sides of town, man, from the east side
Okay.
to the west end, all sides, man. Yeah.
And do you is there any side that has more your heart, right? And I only say that because we moved around a lot as well. But man, and I live in the North End now. But man, the East Side, man, they that's my heart over there.
Yeah, you know what I have to say? Our church is strategically located on the east side. One of the schools we service are on the east side. So right now, man, we are planted well here. So it does our hearts, and a lot of great eating spots on the east side of Bridgeport. I can't
Yes, yes.
about that. So yeah, man. So truly, yeah, east side right now, but we're growing, man, everywhere throughout the city. So I'm sure we'll land everywhere and our hearts will be torn into pieces. We'll give a piece of ourselves everywhere.
Of course, of course. Now, tell me about your giving, man. When did the giving? When did when did you I guess discover that giving spirit that you had inside of you?
Man, that's a great question. You know what? When I was 16 years old, man, I came, and I'll share a little bit of my background, man. When I was 16, I came from a very broken home,
Okay.
where things were just all over the place. We didn't have structure, and our support really wasn't there in the home from our parents. And so I knew at 16 I got plugged into. This is a crazy fact, but when I was 16, I came into a church on the east side of Bridgeport, right here in Boston.
Okay.
Stepped into the church, was a broken youth, was lost, confused, skipping school, was going to be probably another statistic. People would say you're going to be just like your father. And so I stepped into this church at 16 years old, and I saw this woman, man. She was 4'11", but she was preaching like a powerhouse. Janet Ortiz. So man, she was talking life, brother. And when she
Yeah.
spoke that life, man, she changed and transformed my life at 16. Nobody had ever invited me out for my birthday. No one had
Yeah.
ever celebrated my birthday. She invited me out, took me to go have some water and a large pizza. And just the example and the model that she was, at 16, she started to stir the pot.
Yeah.
Was inside of me, the greatness that was there, that hadn't been tapped into. So I would say it started, man, 16 years old. What's that? 26 years ago.
Yeah.
I had already known that I was called, to give and to serve and to do that well and to do it selflessly.
No, I love that. I love that. It's so young too. I mean, I think when I think about myself, I think I was probably about 20 years old when I was kind of like, wait a second, like there's something that I'm supposed to be doing. I'm not sure what it is yet, but there's something I'm supposed to be. Whatever I'm doing now, this is not it. And so
Right.
it's so nice to hear that you kind of felt that super early on. Was there anything specific that Janet said that you remember, or was it just the powerhouse that she was?
You know what? I think it was the powerhouse that she was. And I don't think it was so much what she said, but more so as what she did. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? Because she was really committed and dedicated for the long haul. We are plugged in, and I'm connected to her family. She was definitely a model and an
Yes.
example of what it is to give selflessly. So I really think it was the example, and I think that that's what really kind of stirred that up.
Of course, of course. So did you after Central, did you go to college or no?
I did. I went to
Okay.
Houston. Yep, yep.
Got it. Okay. And did you take up anything specific?
I did human service, helping profession. Jumped
Yeah,
right in.
yeah. No, no, yeah, no, that's what I did as well. I went right to human
Yeah,
services. Yeah.
yep.
And then did you end up going anywhere else after that or no?
Yeah, so I went on to Housatonic, got my associate's degree, then jumped on over to University of Bridgeport, got my bachelor's degree, in human service, then got my master's degree in education.
No.
Um,
Okay.
I got my master's over at the University of Bridgeport.
All right, and you went towards the education. What that's tough. I mean, just me just thinking about educating, just thinking about, I mean, kids. I mean, I love them, but man, that is tough. What made you lean that way towards education?
Well, you listen, that's good. I mean, listen, great questions, brother. So listen, when I was 16, man, I wanted to be a zoologist. I thought I was going to be on the back of
Oh,
a pickup truck, and I thought I would be filming animals in Africa. And then I decided, hey, I'm going to go into human service, and that's where I started. But while I was 20 years old and I was working in the school system, I was a peer professional. I was a teacher's assistant. So
Okay.
I don't like to use the word I was the lower man on the podium or I was at the bottom, because teacher
Yeah.
professionals are not at the bottom. The work that they do are top notch. But
Okay.
but I was hungry. I wanted more because I was doing what a lot of the teachers was doing, and I saw great teaching, but then I also saw poor teaching. I saw people
Yes.
who were burnt out and they weren't passionate. And then I saw those who were like, wow, I want to be just like them and get into the classroom and impact the lives of kids. And so
Yes.
I said, you know what? Why not get my teaching degree? Why not do it? People said, hey, your father has a sixth grade education. You're not gonna, have anything more than that. Drop out
Hmm.
of school now. And I was like, but I had the right people in my corner, cheering me on, rooting for me, and pushing me forward. But yeah, education was not my strong suit initially. Man, I was a kid who didn't like to go to school. I was skipping classes all the time. But I jumped in, and what really pushed me in that direction was the fact that when I was a peer professional, I was like, man, I'm doing what they're doing. And a lot of them aren't even passionate about it. A lot of them are just catching checks, and the
Yeah.
students are hurting. Man, I'm gonna jump into the classroom and I'm gonna do something outside the box. I'm gonna
Yeah.
impact these lives because I was one of these kids that sat in one of these chairs, and
Of
I know what it's
course.
like to feel like you're not seen.
Yeah, no, no. Listen, I get it. I get it 100%. I mean,
Yeah.
everything you just said, I felt it so much. I felt like maybe you were like me. Maybe you were coming home from school and putting on like Animal Planet or something and watching the Crocodile Hunter or something, man. Because
Yo, for real.
that-
Exactly. Exactly.
I love it. I love it. I love it, man. But and still, man, I give you a lot of credit, man, because even though I was one of those teens too, and I was one of those kids that was a little lost out there and whatnot. I don't know that I can do some of the things that you're doing. So I give you a lot of credit for being able to step up to the plate to do that, man, because it takes one hell of a person to be able to step up to the plate for these kids, man. It's tough out there. It's really tough out there.
Yeah.
But I think that being able to relate is probably the best thing. Before I move forward, there was a comment here I wanted to bring up. Fabian Durango says, "Saludos, Eric. We support Elevate Bridgeport and all of Pastor Eric's work in the community." Shout outs to Fabian Durango, man.
Yes.
Um, I had Fabian on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, but I want to
Yep.
get him on here by himself. I had him on here with Ana Plaza, and it was great. And they talked about uh, uh, Latinos of real estate, and it was beautiful. But I want to get him on here by himself because he has so much stuff going on. I really want to
I was
talk
gonna
to him.
say that. Yeah, they got a lot going on. He's got a lot going on, man. A lot of good stuff. A lot
No,
of
I
people
like
going on, but not a lot of people got quality work going on, quality stuff.
yes. No, most
Good
no.
work.
Listen, I agree. I agree 100%. Shout outs to Louis and Sarah Serrano. Love them.
Yes.
And yes, most definitely. So going back to that. So now the going back to I'm not sure how long ago it was when you started teaching and working with the kids, but going back to that time, and when you think about that time, what would you say were some of the hurdles you had to kind of like jump over to be able to really impact the kids, right? Because uh, there's one thing to say, I want to help the kids, I want to teach the kids, I want to educate the kids.
Mhm.
It's a whole nother thing to be able to do it successfully, right? Because these kids, we were them, and it was tough for me when I had a counselor or a teacher tell me, Eddie, I understand. I always knew when that person understood or when they were just saying they understood because that was
Come
just
on.
part of
Yeah.
what they were supposed to say. And so, what were some of the hurdles that you had to kind of like jump over to be able to really impact these kids?
That's interesting. I think the biggest hurdles that I had to overcome was really setting the bar. I
Okay.
realized when I raised the bar, I think one of my greatest hurdles were dealing with insecure people. And that we're
Yeah.
familiar with that, right? And
Yeah.
so sometimes when you raise the bar, others will want you to lower your bar because they're too afraid to raise their own, and so they want
Yes.
you to do the status quo. And so when I would step into the classroom, I was determined to give the kids the best of myself.
Yes.
So I think one of the big things for me in supporting our kids in the classroom was really setting apart what it is that I was hearing outside the classroom and know what it is that I was doing in the classroom was making an impact, because
Yes.
using the students as my thermometer and not the adults that were outside the classroom. So when I looked at the kids, I'm like, are they coming in here hungry? Are they coming in here thirsty? And I
Yeah.
figurative way, like, are they enjoying education? Is the climate and culture in the school really supportive? And if it isn't in the school, can I make it like that in my classroom? So I was like
Yes.
dope teachers, brother. Like, let me tell you something. Every Christmas, I would set up a Christmas tree. I would buy Christmas gifts for every kid in the classroom. And we would have like a Christmas morning in the classroom. And I would have a spread of food from bacon, eggs, and people that weren't willing to do that or tap into some of my resources be like, oh, you're doing too much, or you're making us look bad, or you sometimes you're like, yep, nah, you know what? 20 years ago, these are going to be 20 years later. These kids are the same ones that would shoot me a message on Facebook and say, you don't remember me, but you impacted my life. And when I was in third grade, So
Oh, I love it.
I think, bro, that was one of the biggest hurdles that I had to come for, and like I said, if it's a note that would take away is that, I had to know that I had to raise my bar even when others weren't willing to raise their own. And
Yes.
would say the things that they would say to try to intimidate me because of their own insecurities, I had to stay focused and really know that I had to keep the kids, at the forefront.
No, of course, and speaking of third grade, speaking about third grade, what I like to do a lot with this podcast too is, give flowers, right? Because I think that sometimes we wait too late to want to give somebody their flowers, and so we'll do that by bringing up some of these comments because some people may be listening to this through audio in the car right now and they can't see the comments, and so I just want to, if you don't mind, Eric, man, I just want to read some of these comments that are coming up because I think they're beautiful. Yvette says Eric was my oldest third grade teacher. To this day, he says Mr. Torres is one of his favorites. Let's see. Eric Torres says Eric does an amazing job in everything that he does. KB Johnson says, shout out to Mr. Torres. He's great executive director, and it is a privilege to work for a visionary like Mr. Torres. Man, look, that is man.
They too kind. They trying to make my Thursday night.
Look. Danny Pedraza says Eric mentored me even as an adult, most selfless person I know. What's going on? What's going on, Danny, man?
Love. Man,
yeah, so shout out to Danny. And Kayla, man. Kayla was here a couple of weeks ago. So proud of Eric. I met him when he was that 16-year-old kid. Oh, look at that, man.
Oh, crazy.
It's beautiful, man. It's beautiful.
Wow.
Let's see. What's Manny talking about? Manny said, I love what it said behind him on the wall. Oh, okay. Manny said he loves what it says behind you. Yes. Find the joy in the journey, man. And Lou, let's see, last one. Lou says the kids know when people care and what they do. You know what? And I love that, Lou, man, because that's what I was saying was that, I could always tell the difference between somebody who said I understand because what their education taught them to say that, and somebody who said I understand and they really did understand that where I was coming from and that what I had to go home to afterwards, And so it's a beautiful thing. Let me ask you a question a little bit not in line with what we're talking about, but in line with your sign on the wall there. You have a sign on the wall behind you that says find the joy in the journey, right? And a lot of people, they use joy and happiness interchangeably, right? Like they're the same thing. And so what would you say is the difference between joy and happiness, if there is any difference in your eyes?
You know what? I would think happiness comes externally. So happiness is something that you could find externally, where joy you got to find internally. And that's what I realized, because happiness is more of an emotion that is based on your circumstances, where joy is based on what's on the inside of you and how you've sown into that. So yeah, that's really where I look at it. It's like joy is what is on the inside of me, because joy cannot be taken away as easily as happiness can be, depending on your circumstance.
Yes, love it. Yvette clearly agrees. Happiness is circumstantial, depending on what's happening. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And
yes.
I was asking. It was really just selfless, a selfless reason. A selfish reason, only because I feel the same way, and I like to just kind of see what people think about it. All right, so now you're an educator. You're teaching kids and whatnot. When does that turn into Elevate? Or was it already? Like what happened there? Where was the change that happened there?
Yeah. So you know what? When I was 37, there was a shift, because I realized that what I was doing in the classroom was impacting a small group of students. And I don't want to minimize that. But then I was saying to myself, wait a minute, I feel like I'm a great teacher. My parents are rocking with me. They love coming into my classroom and supporting the work that I'm doing. I have parent engagement, student engagement. And then I'm thinking to myself, well, wait, if I feel like I've got these great qualities and I'm making an impact in the classroom, then I need to expand that skill and quality. Why not impact an entire school? Why not create teachers who are also hungry and thirsty and desire to make an impact? How do I renew the call? How do I,
Yes.
re-engage them? How do I help teachers ignite the flame that's dwindling? So I said, well, I'm gonna become a principal. I said, so let me become a principal so that I can impact students and teachers and an entire school community instead of just the classroom. So I went to school. I got my 092 at Sacred Heart University. I went and I taught for 3 years in New Haven. It broke my heart to leave Bridgeport because I wanted to
Yeah.
be a principal in Bridgeport, but there weren't no positions at that time in the city, and then an opportunity became available. I wanted to get my feet wet, so I said, "Let me go over to New Haven. I'm gonna get a little training, get some experience
Yes.
beneath my belt, and then I'm gonna return back to Bridgeport." And again, this was 6 years ago that I started. I'm sorry, 5 years ago that I became a principal. But that position only lasted 2 years. So I'm gonna stop there because I'm sure you probably want to ask a question there before I talk about a third transition.
No, no, no. For me, I love it. The first thing that came to my mind, if I'm being honest with you, is you said I graduated Central in 1990 something, and I'm like, man,
Mhm.
was it 90 something or was it 80 something? Because man, you've done a lot. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
it
yeah.
it seems like you got a lot done in a little bit of in a little amount of time there. Um, but for me, I like to hear the fact that you went to New Haven because I feel like that probably fed your hunger more to come back over here and impact the kids here. Am I wrong in thinking that?
No, you're right. No, no, no. Absolutely right, man. There was an itch. There's always been an itch, and that was always
Yeah.
the goal, was to come back and so back into our community and being able to learn what I needed to learn to be effective here in that capacity as an
Yeah.
administrator.
Has that been or is that part of your message, to the kids and I only ask that because, as you know, I'm involved with the Greater Bridgeport Latino Network. We have a civic engagement program that we do with seventh and eighth graders over at Cesar Batalla. And part of the idea of that whole program is to, have these young kids understand the importance of not only getting an education, right, but coming back home, right, and sharing that with us here, right, because what happens a lot of times is that our kids, our bright kids are getting an education and doing great, but they're leaving us, right, and we need them to come back home and come help us here, right, and so is that part of your message?
That is, and that's definitely embedded in our mission for Elevate Bridgeport. So I would love to dig into that a little deeper with you once we get there to that part of the
Okay,
journey.
got it.
But I'm definitely going to tap into that, and I agree that that is a great message and it's important.
All right, so let's talk about that next shift.
Yeah, man. That next shift was when, man. So 3 years ago, I don't know. I turned 40 years old,
Okay.
and I was really living my best life. I had a party, September. I was turned 40, celebrate. And so the job that I was working at, I ended up becoming ill during that time, ended up having
Oh.
so I had kidney disease and ended up needing a kidney transplant. So I went on dialysis.
Mm.
So I was on dialysis for 9 months. And during that time, the school I was working at in New Haven decided to restructure the organization and they decided to eliminate my position
Oh,
while
okay.
I was sick, while I was on dialysis, and at that point, while I needed a kidney transplant. So during that time, bro, it looks like it's all bleak and it's all falling apart and there's no hope. I'm reminded of this, finding joy
Yes.
in the journey, right? I need a kidney, and I don't know where that kidney is gonna come from. I don't know how, I don't know when, but I kept saying, I'm only gonna give this a year. 1 year, I'm gonna be on dialysis because I can't see myself at my age doing this forever. And they
Yeah.
kept telling me 6 years, you're gonna have to wait 6 years. You'll have to wait for a cadaver. You're gonna have to wait for someone to pass away and get a kidney donated like that. So a woman in my church, man, she sits 3 seats away from me in the middle of me losing my job and me my contract ending. She sits 3 seats away from me in church and she says to me, I want to let you know that I'm gonna give you my kidney. And I go, you're gonna
Yeah.
give me your what? You gonna give me your what? And brother, I was so shocked that she initially thought she would tell everybody. She would say he was laughing, he was smirking, he didn't think I was serious. I don't know if he thought I was too old or because I was a woman that I couldn't give him my kidney. And she would just crack up. But it was just such a humbling experience for someone to want to give that sacrificial part of themselves to see you. And this is a great part of my story because this is why I have so much joy in the journey. Is because
Yes.
she ended up being an exact match. We didn't know she was an exact match. She ends up donating her kidney to me. But before she donates her kidney to me, she said, I'm giving you my kidney. And this is why it's so important you continue to do good work for all of the listeners out there. Sow good seed, make impact, do it without
Yes.
expecting anything back, Eddie. And I think that's always your message. I watch your videos
Yeah.
online all the time when you're sharing your motivational messages with the public and people in general and kids, is that,
Yes.
stay consistent in what you're doing. She said, I'm giving you my kidney, she said, because I feel I'm going to be a part of your life. And she said, wherever it is that you go, I'm going to be there with you. So when
Oh,
you're teaching kids, when you're schooling kids, when you're supporting kids, she says, your kidney, she says, that kidney's going to be with you. She says, I'm going to feel like I'm doing that. I'm giving back. I'm helping. So she gave me her kidney. It was July 1st, 2021. I get her kidney on July 1st. And I'm sorry, July 3rd, I get her kidney. July 1st, I'm offered a new job with Elevate Bridgeport, and everything just works out the way it needs to work out. I get a new job, I get a new kidney. It's during COVID. We're required to work remotely, so I can isolate myself during this time where I'm trying to get
wow.
back. Brother, it's like
That's
you,
crazy.
you couldn't order your steps any better. You know what I'm saying? Like it just worked out
Yeah.
to work out. But I said it to say, man, in that transition, that's how I landed here at Elevate Bridgeport. And because of someone's generosity, someone's value and
Mhm.
appreciation for my work and what I do with our city's kids, I got more than what money can buy. I got a brand new kidney and a new lease on life. And that's how I ended up here. Oh, sorry, there. There you go. Elevate Bridgeport, man, and the work that
Yeah.
you're doing.
Liz, I love it, and I have to echo, Yvette, definitely chills, like just
Come
chills, just
on.
like, oh man, man, that's crazy. Like Keo said, powerful, man, it's just so powerful.
Thank you.
Everything happened on purpose with purpose.
Yes.
Uh, Powerful story. Sharita Jordan, powerful story. It is, man, and that is a heck of a of a story. And it reminds me that was actually when I first heard about you, was during your dialysis. I remember just a lot of people who I know, who we have, we have, we're friends in common. Um, Talking about you and your journey, and I had no idea who you were. I just kept seeing your face everywhere because people were posting up these pictures, pray for Eric, this and that, whatever. And so that's crazy because that was around the time when I first started hearing about you. um and so, man, so happy that that happened for you and that you're able to be here to tell the story, because that's amazing. Now, are you, this is 2021?
This was 2021. Yep.
Okay, are you and her, I would assume yes, but are you and her like talking? Are you guys friendly or whatnot?
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's amazing. She actually shows her name is Lisa Papa George. Her husband is on Lou Papa George.
Lou,
Uh,
okay, yep,
they're
yep.
watching, man. They're checking in. But yeah, man. Every time she comes into church, my kidney leaps. I can feel when she steps in the building. I said, Lisa, right. Man, we still connected. 3 years later, it'll be 3 years actually in July. So we've been rocking. The kidney is going strong. And yeah, man, we're friends. We're friends. I have the privilege of being her pastor here at the church, man. It's a miracle.
No, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. And so that pretty much is what led you into Elevate, and your journey that started there. Um, when you think about the word purpose, right? I keep seeing purpose is all over the comments. People are talking about purpose, purpose, purpose,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Um, that's a powerful word. What is Eric's definition of purpose?
I think honestly, I keep it 100, always keep it real. I speak facts, no cap. Let me keep
Yeah.
it real. Uh, I really think my faith walk in my journey, because I grew up without purpose. I didn't,
Yes.
or I don't want to say I didn't grow up, but I didn't know what my purpose was.
Yeah.
It was there, but I didn't know what it was. And so if I had to sum up what is purpose, I think is really being able to find yourself and knowing that you got gifts, you got talents. And I said this to you before, it's just got to be
Yeah.
stirred up on the inside of you. So your purpose is finding what you love, doing it courageously, doing it passionately, doing it selflessly, and even when the road gets tough and the rubber meets the road. um, I think really that is purpose, is doing what you do and doing it passionately, courageously, because it takes
Yes.
all those things. And unapologetically, I'm gonna put that in,
Yes.
unapologetic. is finding your purpose. And then when you
No,
run with it.
no, most definitely, most definitely. So and so as we currently sit here, what is your role at Elevate?
Yeah, man. So I got the job here at Elevate because again, Janet Ortiz, my mom was in the right place at the right time. Um, so her executive director for her organization, their Urban Impact, they work over in PT. He's the board chair for Elevate Bridgeport. He was asking her, "Do you know anybody that would be good for this position?" And so she said, "Hey, I got the perfect person. He's looking for a job right now." I interviewed for the position, man. They hired me knowing that I had kidney disease. I was on dialysis. I would be going through
Yeah,
transplant, and they hired me, man. I was like, that's huge. Yeah, I get on board. I work, and I'm a go getter, man. I don't play around. So I'm working from home. I'm on the computer. I'm networking because the organization in itself, Elevate Bridgeport, needed someone that had connections, needed someone that was involved in the community,
yeah,
understood politics, understood some of the key players, and really was familiar with education as well because they
mm,
had a challenge with getting into the Bridgeport public schools for a little while. Because with Bridgeport public schools, you got to prove yourself before you get the approval. And
yeah.
so Bridgeport was like, this organization sounds great. It sounds like y'all done some great work across the country, but I really don't know if it'll work here. And so they hired me to get going and grind and to be able to make those connections and get us into a school system or district here in Bridgeport. So yeah, man, I started here as the executive director. So that is what my
Okay,
role is today. I'm the executive director of Elevate Bridgeport.
okay, okay. So and this is 2021, and so you've remained as the executive director of Elevate Bridgeport since then.
Yes. Yep. Yep.
And in that role as executive director, what do you what is your role in that role?
Man, I'm all things to all people, brother. All
Okay.
things to all people. Because you remember, we're a startup organization, so we're grassroots. We started from
Yeah.
the bottom, nonprofit, 501(c)(3), and so Elevate is an established organization across the country. It's been around for 40 years. The
Okay.
model is in other cities, other states, but it's a first for Connecticut here in Bridgeport. So my role is to do everything from being the human resource director to the development director to the finance director. So
Yeah.
I do it all, but I push our mission forward. And so our mission is to build long term, life changing relationships with Bridgeport's youth, equipping them to thrive and contribute to their communities. And I think that was your point
Yeah.
earlier about the
Yeah.
contribution, the giving back. And so we really are in our mission pushing and really doing the work of teaching our kids. Not only do we want you to thrive, but we want you to contribute. So that's our mission, and that's what I've been doing so far. And we can go into some more detail about that.
Yeah, no, 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 definitely. And like I said earlier, that's one of the missions in our civic engagement program. It's
That's
just
right.
that, come back home. We have so many great folks here now that you can talk to who are doing great things, and they're born and raised here, right? And so we want these kids to understand, man. It's so important for you to come, right? Like if you see something you don't like, you can change that,
Come
and
on.
you could do that. You could do that by getting an education, and you don't have to get an education here. You don't have to go to UB like I did or you did. You don't have to go to Houston. You could go wherever you want in the country, but then bring that knowledge and whatever you get out there, bring it back home and help us here. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I love to hear it, man. I love to hear it. Um, did you want to dig a little deeper into some of the things you guys are working on?
Yeah, yeah, we could go a little deeper on some of the things we're working out, man. Yeah. So Elevate Bridgeport is grinding. We are busy, serving, serving, serving. So we're a growing organization, obviously,
Yeah.
but we have four primary areas of focus. So what we do is we go into a school, an underperforming school, an under-resourced school, a school that is struggling with chronic absenteeism, low graduation rates, low student engagement, and Elevate basically adopts that school. And so I have the wonderful privilege of hiring full time teacher mentors. And I want to say that again, full time teacher mentors. And we hire our mentors. So they're not volunteers. Volunteers are great, but their limit and their ability and their reach, or I'll say their reach is limited because they have other commitments. When you volunteer,
Yeah.
right? You got family, you got work, and we need volunteers, please. But we hire full time teacher mentors, man, who go into a school and they will literally teach accredited classes, which means our students are getting graduation credits. They're getting credits towards their
Mm.
graduation, and they're being taught life skills and character development. So we teach a whole curriculum. We're meeting kids right where they're at. We're going right into the trenches with our kids. We're stepping on the same ground that they're stepping on. We're rubbing shoulders, elbows with our kids, and we go in and we teach life skills and character qualities. And not only do we do that, but we also, in other areas, we take kids on adventures. So we take our kids, man, because when I was a kid growing up, man, I told you I wanted to be in Africa filming animals on the back of a Jeep and be a part of National Geographic. So adventures is something that we're big on, man. And taking our kids, water tubing. And it's interesting, man. When I did that with our kids this last year, we were going water tubing down the Farmington River. We realized not all of our kids know how to swim. It's interesting because they don't have that kind of regular access to pools. They don't.
Yeah.
So it's all interesting that we get our kids to be able to swim. We take our kids to go to DC on college tours. We take our kids to the sports center. An adventure for our kids. Some of them, they don't even think when they go to Trumbull Mall. Some of them even think they're leaving the state because a lot of them don't even get that far to get to
Yeah.
Trumbull Mall see or go to a Panera Bread. So we give
Yeah.
our adventures, college and career readiness, and then we offer mentoring. And what we do with our mentoring, let me be honest with you, I don't hire the most. My people are educated and they have experience. But I
Yeah.
tell you this above all else, my people are called and they come from the same social ethnic backgrounds as our
Hmm.
students. I
Yeah.
want to highlight that. We hire people in our schools to work for Elevate Bridgeport that can be reached, touched,
Yeah.
connected with in the grocery store, at the bodega down the street, on the east side, west end. So
Yeah.
we hire well, man. So that's what we're doing right now. We're at two schools. So we're
Okay.
at Bassick right now, and we're at Bridge Academy. Those are the two schools we're serving right now.
No, I love that, man. I love that, and man, it like whenever I hear about these things, not only what the things that you're doing, but just
Yeah.
things that that John Torres is doing with BCYL, and
Uh,
things that that Carlos Collazo is doing with the Boys and Girls Club. Like when I hear all these things, man, I love it because when I was coming up, you know, I didn't have access. I mean, I'm sure there were things happening, but I didn't have access to them, and so I was one of those kids who I never I didn't start going to the mall until I was like probably like 17 or
yeah,
whatever it was,
yeah.
right? And I didn't leave like Connecticut ever, like you know what I mean. I didn't even know how to get to the mall driving because all I knew was the city bus, right? Like you get on number 8,
Yup.
whatever. And so that was me. And so to hear this, it really it makes me happy to know that you guys, you and a lot of other great people in Bridgeport are giving this
That's right.
access to these
Yeah.
kids that just don't have this access because I could only imagine how I would have felt if I would have had that opportunity to be able to have that access.
Man, let me share a story with you, brother. We took a group of kids, man. Last year, we took them over to Washington D.C. We rented out an Airbnb, and a bunch of Bridgeport students, and I had the most powerful time. So the kids had all the other space. I slept on a little cot. It was a little cot, little. I mean, trust me, like little cot, and
Yeah,
feet were hanging off the end. It was in a laundry room. I slept right next to the door to make sure none of the kids escaped. Took an Uber to downtown D.C. And there was one night, it was 11:30. One kid comes in, starts having a conversation with me just about life and his family and his everything he's been through, the struggle with you know um, drugs, and then another kid comes in, and then another kid comes in, and when I look up, I'm sitting on this little cot, and there are 13 kids squeezed into this little laundry room, and they start weeping and they're crying and they're comforting one another. And I mean, these are hard body kids. These are kids that don't cry for anybody, that could
yeah,
care less, right? And I'm like, yo, this is a moment. Like these kids are having a mountaintop experience because they're about to
mhm,
go back in the valley. But we're gonna make sure that though they may have come in feeling weak, they're gonna go back down as warriors. They're gonna go
yes,
down into the valley, ready to complete the next leg of their journey. And so to me, these are those moments that you talk about, that I talk
mhm,
about, that we capitalize. Like when I watch you speak, I'm always moved because I'm like, this brother's doing it with passion because he's doing it like it's going to be the last time he's ever going to connect with some of these people, but he wants to leave them with something that they could chew on, think about, process. So that's what Elevate does with these kids. We don't just take them away because we want to spend our donors' money, we want to spend grant money, but we take our kids away because these are mountaintop experiences where our kids need to go beyond our city's borders and be able to have a time of respite, be able to gather their thoughts, be able to create a game plan, and go back into where we may not be able to permanently take them out from right now. but give them a chance to be able to say, yo, you know what? I'm hungry. I'm thirsty. I want to achieve. That was me. That was you. That's what you're saying. That was us.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, that's what we're rocking with.
No, no, no. I love that. I love that. And you said you guys are currently at two schools, Bridge Academy and at Bassick. Are there any plans to? I mean, I'm sure there is, but are there any plans to expand? And if so, what can anybody watching, what can anybody listening, what can we do to help that mission? To help you kind of expand on your on the schools that you're reaching, the kids that you're reaching.
Yeah, I mean, great. I mean, we have so Elevate Bridgeport has the capacity to expand. Like I said, it's a model that's been in existence for 40 years. It's
Yeah.
a proven model. There's a reason why it's been around 40 years. And Elevate has proven itself here in the city. We started out with a charter school. Bridge Academy was the first school to welcome us in. They didn't know much about us, but they knew that they needed help. And so we hired 3 teacher mentors to jump right into that school that looked like our kids, that could relate to our kids. And they jumped in and they made a significant impact. We saw chronic absenteeism decrease. We saw students more engaged. And I want to keep it real. So let me paint an Elevate picture because I'm going to talk a little about what we can do, but I want to paint this
Okay.
picture, right? So in every classroom, we have 3 teacher mentors. I get pumped up. I'm ready to get up. And
Let's go.
we got like 3 teachers, man. The most vibrant, caring, what I had always dreamed of and what I wanted to see in a school and be replicated. I'm
Yeah.
able to now select and do that well because I hire well. Why are we successful? Because I hire well. So when we go into a school, man, I got 3 teacher mentors. We got one who's fist pumping at the door, one who's high fiving kids, like, yo, I like your cut, man. I like your sneakers, man. Yo, keep wearing that smile. They're right at the door. So the minute a kid comes into our classroom, they're already loved down at the door. Then there's another person in the classroom, a teacher mentor, who's checking in with the students while they're sitting down. Then we got another one who's in the front of the classroom getting the lesson ready. And it's a whole vibe in the classroom, man. The climate and culture is uplifting. So when they're in this classroom, we start out with an icebreaker. And so kids are be able to gauge, get up out their seat for 10, 15 minutes, participate in the lesson. Because we know kids don't want to sit down the entire time and listen to somebody lecturing. So we do these hands-on lessons. We do group projects with our kids. We do choice learning, but it's a whole, and we check in with our kids, but it doesn't stop there, Eddie. We
Yeah.
then say, yo, we love spending time with you in school, but now we're going to take you outside of school. We're going to go grab a bite to eat. We're going to play basketball today. And I'll share with something to you because we're partnering with Al's Millennium and we're going to be having a tournament. I want to talk a little bit about that. But
Okay.
so Elevate is growing. So we grew there. We're rocking at Bridge. Bassick, we did a part-time program last year with them, and they were like, man, you're making such an impact. We want you during the school day. Come in. We're going to give you your own classroom. So we hired 3 more teacher mentors to come in there full-time and work. And the kids don't ever want to leave our room. Kids get caught on camera stopping by our room. Kids get caught saying hello because they're in the wrong corridor. But they're that, man, and they're killing it at Bassick. And those kids love being with their teacher mentors. So an invitation has been extended. We had a fundraiser this past year, but an invitation was extended by Harding's principal to have Elevate come there and start with their program. So there's a couple of ways people can get involved. As always, funding is always an issue. So if anybody has any idea of grant funding dollars that are out there and just say, hey, I'm good at writing grants, or hey, my business, my organization does grants, or we can help donate, we would love to see that happen. To see us get to where we need to be, because the goal would be, the end goal in the next 3 years is to be in every Bridgeport high school across the city. So that when I get a call from one of our parents and say, hey, where are you at? I got a kid. I'm going to say, hey, we're at every school. And I want you to be able to go to your guidance counselor and say, my son needs Elevate. They need support in the school and out of the school. So we're there. We want to grow. So next year, our hope is to raise enough dollars to get over into Harding High School. So that's one way. But another way is we're running a program this summer. It's called our Summer Earn and Learn program. This program is a whole vibe in itself. So we created it off a whim with much thought, much prayer. We were like, listen, let's throw something together because our kids need to work there in the summer. And a lot of these programs, and I will say this to your point, there are 21,000 kids in the city of Bridgeport, at least in our schools. You and I know that I cannot serve 21,000 kids. So I'm grateful. I'm grateful for the many programs, the BYC. I'm grateful for the Caribe. I'm grateful for Boys and Girls Club, they're out there because they're all serving a purpose and we're in this
Mhm.
fight together. So we run a program called Earn and Learn, where we hire high school students to work there in the summer, 20 hours a week. We pay them, but we put them strategically in businesses, small business throughout the city, where they can work and they can learn a trade at the same time. They take what they learn in the classroom at Elevate and they provide, then they take it and they use it for real world experiences. So if we're teaching you teamwork, we're teaching you time management, we're teaching you how to be a public speaker, we're teaching you all these things in the classroom. That's great. Now we're going to pay you in the summer $250 a week to work for 20 hours, and the businesses love it because they get free help. But at the same time, they're making a good deposit. Like Al's Millennium had some of our kids. We put some of our kids on a food truck. And so
Yeah.
if there are people out there that have businesses that would be interested in having a kid come and shadow their business for 5 weeks to be able to learn a trade, we're open to that. I think that would be a great initiative. We're always open to having guest speakers, job shadowing opportunities, all of that good stuff.
No, of course, of course. And listen, if you're watching this, if you're watching this conversation on YouTube, just go down to the description and all the information on how to get in contact with Eric will be down there. If you're listening to this on Spotify, if you're on Apple right now, if you're driving your car, if you're on your way to work, don't pull over. Just whenever you get to work, just go into the description and everything will be there on how to get in contact with Eric or get in contact with me, and I'll put you in contact with Eric so that we can make this happen. I wanted to highlight before we move on. I wanted to highlight some comments real quick. Yvette, who's been tuned in right there with us the whole time. She says kids need that. Some are coming from homes where they are not given the affirmations or encouragement to go to school and feel welcome and love makes a difference. And then Kayla, who's been tuned in the whole time too, says that she can help you write a grant. So there you go. Some help with grants. That
Yeah.
listen, I already know the writing grants. That's a man. That's not for everybody, man.
Nah, nope.
No, that's beautiful, man. That's beautiful, and it brings me a lot of happiness to know that local businesses like Al, man. I've known Al for, I mean, I've been Al's customer since before he opened the first Al's Millennium. He was working over at Hector's on East Main Street. And so to learn that he's giving back and helping you out. I mean, it's a beautiful thing because those are some of the stories of the people from Bridgeport who are successful in their businesses. And it's great for these kids to not only, earn some money and whatnot, but to also see somebody who grew up where they grew up and who is super successful. Because Alex is a really successful guy, man. And he did it all right. He did it all in Bridgeport, and he did it in the most humble. I mean, he's a home. I mean, Al, he's a
Yeah.
super laid back dude. I mean, so it's a beautiful thing. I love to hear it.
Yeah, man, there's a lot of great people. I mean, honestly, we've been blessed and fortunate enough. And sometimes people think they got to give and support with $10,000, $20,000. But sometimes saying, you know what, we're going to buy a large pizza. Elevate does this amazing thing we call, you heard of Grubhub? We do
Yeah.
we do Grub Love. So Grub Love, where our kids would typically bring a lunch and we provide dessert. But there's these opportunities where people could sponsor a simple lunch, come sit with our kids, learn about what we do, but also learn more about our kids, man. And like
Yeah.
Anna Plaza, Nate Moran, Marlon Moran, Fabian Durang, all these people have invested, and you, my brother, even given a platform like this to individuals and organizations like ourselves to share our message and our work, man, is comforting and reassuring. So, I'm so grateful for the many people, and then those just with their encouragement, man. We're blessed. I feel tremendously blessed and honored to do this work, man. It's not for the faint of heart, and you got to have some tough skin. Because
Yeah.
I said I ain't gonna ever leave a classroom crying. No, you gotta have some tough skin, man, because it's no joke, but it's worth it.
No, most definitely. Where can we find some of this information? Is there a website? Are you guys on Facebook? Where can we find this information on how we can give back or how we can help?
Yeah, so there's a volunteer form that they can find on our website, www.elevatebridgeport.org. You go on our website, you can visit our upcoming events page. You can check out some videos, some pictures, some newsletters. But I would definitely start with the volunteer form. It's pretty detailed and it gives us an idea of what people's skill sets are. So we make sure people are set up to be successful with where they are going to be the right fit. for wherever they want to serve. So yeah, definitely visit our website.
No, listen, I love that, man. You know, I mean, I'm in an all volunteer organization now, and I've been volunteering for years now. And it's so important to be able to really, you know, if folks want to give their time, it's really important to understand
Yeah.
how much time can they give. Is it 5 minutes a week? Is it 5 hours a week? How much time? And what do they like to do? Right? We don't want to put them somewhere where they're going to be miserable. We want to put them somewhere where they
Nah.
can succeed, right? Because if
Yeah.
they're happy, then hey, they're going to give us more time, right? So it's a
For
beautiful thing.
real.
I definitely get it. And by the way, you mentioned events, man. I wanted to apologize publicly to you, man. You reached out to me a few months ago. You had an event going on. I think it was an award, some kind of an awards event. And you reached out and you said, "Hey Ed, man, you know, got a ticket for you, come through." But it was I think it was probably like a week before the event, and because of the kids and everything, I couldn't like on such short notice go. And I felt so bad, man. I was like, oh man, he's gonna be so mad at me because I had to turn him down.
Nah, man, I wasn't mad. I was a little hurt, man. I was a little hurt. I was a little hurt. I almost didn't show up for today's podcast, brother. I was in my feelings. I was in my feelings. Nah, man. I get it, man. Life happens, and
Listen,
definitely,
I have
definitely
a
no hard
listen.
feelings.
Listen, I have an 8-month-old daughter, man. I got a little baby, so I got.
Yeah, do you, bro? Because we want you to do that well. Because the only way you could do this well is if you're handling the home front well. So we appreciate that, man. Nah, definitely.
No, most definitely. And listen, if you're on Facebook, man, in the comments, Anna is sharing the donation link is down in the comments. So she was gracious enough to share some of that information down in the
Thank you.
comments.
Thank you.
It's a beautiful thing. Thank you so much. No, yeah, but for real, man, I do apologize, man. I was bummed out, man. I was bummed out, but it is what it is sometimes, right? So, is there anything we haven't touched on? Anything that you had kind of in your heart that you wanted to talk about that maybe I didn't ask about?
No, man. You know what I would like to do though is just maybe sound the alarm.
Okay.
The sense like we shared with our staff not too long ago, and I think that, and I don't think people are blind to the fact that there's a sense of urgency when it comes to our students and the work that is happening here in our city, and at times the great divide, right? The things that are
Mm,
happening, whether you're red, blue, who you support. I really want to just stress this point and keep it focused and centered on our students and the kids we I have the privilege. I'm gonna use that word privilege to serve, man. And I think the attorney general in 2023, not the attorney general, but the surgeon general released a statement in 2023, and he said there's an epidemic that is happening amongst the people throughout our country, and it's isolation and loneliness. We heard of the pandemic, but what about the epidemic that people are facing today, day in and day out? And adults struggle with handling isolation and loneliness very differently than our kids do. And I think that to me, when he said sound the alarm and he wrote this letter, he created this sense of urgency. He said loneliness and being an epidemic and isolation has the same health impact that smoking 15 cigarettes a day would.
mm,
Loneliness is that serious. When kids are isolated, adults are isolated. It has serious health effects, whether it's high blood pressure, depression, mental health, and just really, Eddie, man, just getting it out there that there are people who are on the front lines. It's not a work that we can do in isolation. We're helping those who are in isolation and those who are broken, those who are lost. We need to support them. And the power of belief, I would encourage people, man, don't give up. I know what we read in the articles, I know what we see on the news, but there are good things happening. And I think that that's your platform, right? There are good things
yeah,
happening that we need to celebrate. I will close with this because I'm sure we're coming to a close soon. But I will
yeah.
say this, man. I read one time a story. It was talking about a teacher who got hired to work in a school. This teacher, when he stepped into the school, was told that the last teacher quit because these students would never succeed. They would never amount to anything. Their failures. Don't waste your time teaching them. Just get through the school year. Try to get by. And this teacher went into the classroom after hearing all that he heard. He dug through the desk and he found a piece of paper with a bunch of numbers on them. And he couldn't believe himself. He said, man, these numbers are like 800, 900, 600. He said, man, these scores are so high, it's unbelievable. He said, these kids aren't dumb. These kids aren't just some of the people who are to be written off. He said, you know what? They're intelligent. They're brilliant. And he started teaching to that. And when he started teaching to that, the kids started raising their own standards and started reaching for the bar that he has set for them because of the power of belief and the power of hope and the ability to inspire and stir up. And so one day someone came into his classroom. They said, man, how are your students succeeding? How are they doing so well? They said, you're killing it, man. These kids have changed. They're transformed. And he said, he goes, look at these scores. He said, they're not dumb. They're not what you said they were. He said, in fact, they're brilliant. They said, man, what are you looking at? He says, those aren't test scores. Those are locker numbers. And, bro, the reality is our kids are not dumb. It's just that no one has raised the bar and we're not setting the standard. And the power of belief. That story is our basic students. That story is our Harding students. They are smart. They are brilliant. They just need the right people to stir it up. They need people to come outside of the stands, get on the field, and rock with them. And I'm gonna tell you, don't get me wrong. We got to kick out a couple of kids, but it doesn't end there because I always tell my staff, once in Elevate, always in Elevate. And our model is no one gets there alone. The kid gets kicked out of class. When they get back to class, you better write them a little note. You leave it right on their desk. And you let them know how much you missed them, even though they got on your last nerve the day before and kicked them out, because they need to know their value because you are not the cause of their problem.
Yeah.
And with this, these students have gone through some stuff for years. You've only been with them a few months. You've only met them once. If they're giving you an attitude, it's not because of you. So you need to understand, don't take it personal. They're hurting, but love them where they're at. Love them. You're not going to listen. You accept them where they're at, but you love them where they need to be. That's my point. I'm gonna close on that. Bam! There you go.
Well, hold on. So before you go, I got a few questions, man. So,
I'm ready.
Some personal stuff. Now we just want to get to know Eric a little more, man. So tell me and whoever's listening and watching, there's about 50 people tuned in on Facebook right now. There's about 5 people on Instagram. People are tuned in, man. What's your favorite dish?
Man, what's my favorite? Well, this is a good question. What is my favorite dish? Man, I know because I am Puerto Rican, I should probably say like joroco candule and some of that. But honestly, I'm all into pasta, brother. All into pasta. That might be. I might need to join you at the gym. Trust me when I tell you that them carbs are sticking hard, like Gorilla Glue. But yeah, I mean, I'm into pasta. I like lasagna.
Okay, lasagna, and where's the best place to get lasagna?
Oh man, where is the best place?
Or is it a person? Is there somebody, my mother-in-law makes some good lasagna. So is there somebody who that makes some good lasagna?
You're doing me dirty. You're doing me dirty. You're trying to put me out there now because if I don't, so I'm gonna stick with a restaurant. All right, because you try to do me right, and I could say Olive Garden. That would really be bad. No, I'm gonna go with Romanici's. I'm on Madison Avenue. Hopefully they'll sponsor you. I'm gonna let you know. Romanici's, I think it's all the way up past the mall.
Oh, okay. That's good to know because I don't know if you can see the comments, but my wife, she loves lasagna, so we're gonna have to go check out that place.
Yeah. Tell me how it goes.
Okay, I will. I definitely will.
It's good though.
I definitely will. All right, and then well, actually, Kayla agrees. Kayla says, yeah, Romanici's is delicious. She says.
See that?
There we go. Okay. Your favorite genre of music?
Man, I have to say, I'm gonna say gospel music. Gospel.
Yeah, of course.
I'm big on hip hop. So I love hip hop music. So if you ever catch me in the Price Right parking lot or anywhere else, some Lecrae, The Truth, and stuff like that. But I would say gospel hip hop music. Yeah, definitely.
Okay. And in terms of gospel hip hop, what's on replay right now? Like, what's the song that's in your mind right now?
Oh, you know what? I'm actually gonna flip that a little bit. So I'm gonna say gospel. I'm gonna keep out the hip hop, but Maverick City has a song called Promises.
Okay.
It's a dope song. Promises.
Yep. That's what's up, man. Listen, Eric, man, thank you so much for your time today, man. That was about an hour. I know you probably got things to do. I got to get to editing so I can get this on YouTube by tomorrow. But thank you so much for your time, man. It was great for me. It was great to get to know you. It was great to have this moment, even though you're over there, I'm over here, but to have this one-on-one with you and really get to know you. And not only that, but to do it while I'm also seeing all these comments of people just loving on you, man. It's a beautiful thing, man. I think sometimes we wait too long before we tell somebody how great, we think they are, or what they've done for us, or our family. And so for me to be able to see that, it's a beautiful thing, man. So thank you so much for your time tonight.
Man, I appreciate you, brother. Thank you for having me, man. Continue doing what you're doing because it is making an impact, man. And we appreciate you giving our organizations this platform. Thank you.
No, of course, of course. Listen, I'm gonna take you off the screen for a second here, just so I can kind of finish the show off. But don't go nowhere, so we can chat before you get off. Guys, listen, if you're watching, please make sure that you visit Elevation Bridgeport, Facebook, Instagram. Check out Eric and everything he has going on social media. Check out the website. If you're listening to this podcast in your car right now, if you're on a treadmill running and you're listening to this on Spotify, please make sure you go down to the description and check out, how you can get in contact with Eric or with Elevation and see how you can help out. If you're on YouTube right now, looking at our cute faces on this camera and you're like, oh my God, whatever. Go down to the description and just see how you can help. There's always there's always a way that you can help, whether it's 5 hours a week or it's 5 minutes. If it's a one-time thing, if you can just come and speak or whatever it is, there's always something that you can do. Please make sure that they check in and see what you can do. Eric, again, man, thank you so much for your time. I'm gonna take you off the screen here, but yeah, don't go nowhere, right?
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, brother. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I really do appreciate your support. If you haven't done so already, please make sure, if you're on YouTube right now, please make sure that you subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you're on Facebook, go to YouTube, youtube.com/Eddie_Transcendent. That's Eddie_Transcendent, and subscribe to my page, to my channel on YouTube. I'm trying to grow my love over there on YouTube. Guys, for those of you who've been tuning in throughout this whole interview, thank you so much. I appreciate your support. Please be on the lookout. We got some great interviews coming up next week, next Tuesday and next Thursday. We have some great interviews. And if you know of somebody who you want me to talk to and give some exposure to, please let me know. I would love to do that as well. I got Eric waiting for me, so I don't want to talk too much. Guys, thank you so much. And please don't forget, be transcendent.